So before I get in the talk, I want to do something, which I realize I haven't done in many months. Periodically, I would just stop the blah, blah, blah and ask questions. Ask people to ask me questions. So, in other words, we've had, I think Brian taught a couple of weeks. Might have totally confused you, so who knows. We had wonderful teaching from the Venerable Panawati. I don't know if people were able to take advantage of her Dharma talk or her retreat. We had a lot of people. And just, everybody here is practicing, reading, doing their best. So what kind of questions do you have about Dharma, spiritual life, meditation, mindfulness? What's not clear to you what this is about? So this is an opportunity to think. And online, just chat it into Bill. You have any questions about what we do here, or what practice is, or what this is all about? Yes. One brave soul. Hold on, Tracy.
I just have a question, actually, about the incense offering, like when you light the incense, when you stand in front of the Buddha. Just curious what, I guess, is going through your mind and what's the purpose of it?
This is ancient, right? It's not just in Buddhism. It's throughout Asia. It's Christianity, Catholicism, Traditionally in Buddhism, we're offering our senses. We're purifying our senses. So we have a sense of smell, we have a sense of hearing. So usually on an altar, there are flowers, there's incense, flowers' eyes, incense smell. Often there's a conch shell, which represents the organ of hearing, etc. All right? So we are, usually in our life, we all have senses. But usually our senses are driven by attachment, aversion, desire, need. We just don't look at things purely, right? We see something beautiful, and the first thing we think is what? What? I want it. Thank you. Very simple. I want it. Where can I get it? You see? Or I don't like it. You know what I mean? So our sensory experience is not pure. We just aren't able just to appreciate things in and of themselves, without grasping, without pushing away, without all the things that we do. So when we offer incense, we're offering this purification mind to the Buddha. And again, when human beings are interesting. For hundreds of years after the passing of the Buddha, there were no symbols, because the Buddha was in, a living memory, right? So there were people who had been his students who were still alive and teaching, and their generation, the next generation of teachers, had the connection with their teachers who knew the Buddha, and could. So you understand, it's like talking about your relatives, right? So we can often talk about our parents and our aunts or uncles, right? And then our aunts and we might be able to talk about our grandparents, and we may be able to talk about our great-grandparents, because our grandparents and our parents talked about our great-parents, you know what I mean? But at a certain time, we lose all that. So over time, people began to make representations of the Buddha. And originally, the representations were symbolic, interestingly enough. Like if you go to some of the earliest representations, there'd be these things of the Buddha's feet, like impressions of his feet, like in a lotus. So that's what it would be. Or else the wheel of Dharma, the 8-spoke wheel of his teachings, that would be a symbol of the Buddha. But at some point, the northern Indian culture came in contact with Hellenic culture, the Greeks. And anybody have ever been to a museum, about the Greeks, what did they do? All their gods were what? Right. So all of a sudden they started making representations of the Buddha. And if you ever go to a museum or you want to look it up, you'll look up Gandhara Buddhas, because that was I think it's, I don't know if it was where Iran was or something, but there was this Gandhara culture. And you see the Buddha, and guess what? He's got flowing hair, he's got a mustache, looking like those people. So it's, anyhow, it was a long, so that's what this is all about. Other questions?
One question online, Fred.
Yes.
What is the equality complex?
Yeah, what is the equality complex? So again, a fundamental teaching of Buddhism is that the self, our sense of self, our sense of I, me, my, is always trying to distinguish itself from everybody else, right? And some people distinguish themselves from everybody else with a sense of what? Superiority. You know, I'm better than everybody, which leads to what? Arrogance, pride, right? You know what I mean? So that's the superiority complex. Some people go the other extreme. They take the what? Inferiority complex. You know, there's something wrong with me, I'm deficient, everybody's better than me, what's wrong with me? Right? So that's the deficiency ego. The equality ego sounds pretty good, but it's really the it's sort of like the competitive, jealous, envious ego. You see? Hey, how come they have that and I don't? You see? You know what I mean? How come they got the job advancement and I didn't? Right? How come they have a date and I don't? You see what I'm saying? It's jealousy, it's envy, you know. But it's another stance of ego that it's just never satisfied. It's either better than everybody, it's either worse than everybody, or it's equal to everybody. But the truth is, we're not equal to everybody, are we? I mean, you know, in a democratic, you know, in a legalistic way, we talk about equality. But this is a different kind of equality. We're not all equal. Some of us are taller, some of us are shorter. Some of us have athletic ability and some of us don't. Some of us have musical ability and some of us don't. Some of us are very coordinated, some of us aren't. Isn't that true? We are all different. We're not all equal. That's just the way it is. But ego, self, makes a big deal about this. Right? It's like, how come I'm not? Right? Why don't I like that person? Why didn't I have a childhood like that person? I'm as good as them, right? You know what I mean? So it goes on and on. I mean, there's lots of ramifications, but so, you know, what Buddhism is wanting to help us do is be free. And one of the ways we do it, as it's presented in the verse, is seeing that all these stances that ego takes are fabricated. They're not real. They're fabricated. And yet we believe they're true. People believe they're better than other people. Right? People believe they're worse than other people. People believe them as good as everybody else. But none of that's true. Because at the end of the day, who are we? We are who we are. But for most people these days, often that's not good enough, is it? We want to be somebody else. Did that answer? Is that okay? Other questions? Yes, sir.
So I think it's in Verses in Trust in Mind, there's a couple of lines that go, mind is mind because of things, and things are things because of mind. Mm-hmm. And that sticks with me, mm-hmm. But it sounds circular.
Mm-hmm. It is circular.
And it sounds like it's something that circle needs to be broken somehow, and I get stuck.
So what does it mean to you? What's your name again?
Tony.
Tony, that's right, Tony. Tony, so what does that mean to you? Mind is mind because of things, and things are things because of mind.
It's identification. So for me, it's our tendency as humans to know our world and want to label them, label the things in that world.
Mm-hmm.
And when you label something, you might not necessarily be seeing all of the things it truly is.
Mm-hmm.
But then that definition reinforces whatever in my mind is my view of the world.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good.
But I'm not sure that that's right.
If it's helpful to you, Tony, it's good. Yeah, so mind is mind because of things, and things are things because of mind. So in Buddhist psychology, mind, this is not our Buddha mind, this is our, everyday mind, thinking mind, it arises always in the perception of something. Right? We just don't float about. We're always thinking about something. Right? We're always perceiving something. So mind arises in relationship to things, whether they are physical things or mental things. Right? So mind is mind because of the things the objects that it objectifies. Right? But the same way, things become things because there's a mind that's present to it. So they don't exist without one another. So this mind does not arise by itself. It always arises in relationship to things. Now that's our ordinary, everyday mind. I mean, it's sort of a statement about just the way things are. It's like hearing is only hearing because of sounds. Sounds are only sounds because they're heard. It's like introducing us to the process. It's not personal. This is just the unfolding of experience. It's not good, it's not bad, it's not right, it's not wrong. But when you understand that, then it's like what you said. Or like we talked about with the incense. Is that experience that I'm having, right, pure? I'm just allowing things just to be as they are? Or is mind distorting? So we're not seeing the thing purely. We're seeing a distortion of the thing that our mind is projecting. I mean, we do that all the time, don't we? We do that all day with people. Everybody we run into, everybody we think about, what do we have? Thoughts and opinions. We judgment, evaluation, assessment, right? I mean, all day long. So we're not seeing them as they are we? No, we're seeing them through our own distorted view of who they are. So, the verses on trust and mind, that we chant here, is very profound. But as you notice, it's very Zenish. It's based on the life we lead, the life of the senses, the life of the mind. But the question is, how do we live in this, with clarity, with ease? I don't know, does that clear anything up, Tony, or just...
It did. I mean, it reinforced sort of my thoughts on it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still stuck with, is there something more absolute, is there something more?
Well, of course there is, Tony.
Tell me about it, Fred.
Well, that's called, Buddha mind, true mind, whoever, Okay?
Thank you.
Other questions? Other questions about, everyone's here meditating, trying to do something, trying to make changes in your life, maybe reading the Dharma, listening to Dharma. I mean, these days, I realize, people who come here are like, I'm just a tiny piece. Podcasts and YouTube, people can just be, inviting spiritual teachings, nonstop, right? Morning till night, wake up with it, go to sleep with it, have it on in your car. It's just, yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Kathy.
Yes, Kathy.
There's that concept of no becoming. There's no becoming. And I started practicing some time ago. And on a day-to-day basis, I think, wow, this is better than it was before. I see things more clearly than I saw them before. Things like that. But then in a sense, what I've gotten is that as soon as I think something like that, that means that I am completely off base and don't get it at all. If I'm thinking my practice is improving, I feel more present, it's about that becoming, that I'm actually becoming, which means that I'm not becoming.
That you're not what?
I'm not getting any better because my practice is not better because as soon as I think I understand something, then I don't understand.
Yeah, so...
Thank you.
Yeah. So, you're walking along a path, and the path is taking you somewhere, right? Right? You're walking along a path, and, maybe you're a third of the way there. Okay? Then you're just aware that where you are is a third of the way there, and you've had your own experiences along the way, and you have your view of where you are right now a third of the way. Is that true? Is that valid? What?
I think so.
Just because you haven't reached a destination, does that invalidate what's going on right now and the fact that you've come a third of the way already?
I'm thinking that thinking is the booby prize. That when I'm thinking, that I'm not completely present. To just, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm pretty loud.
Yeah, but we have a lot of people online,
Oh,
and
I
so
apologize.
that's for them. You
Yeah.
can't be that loud.
Okay. What I was thinking was that when I'm thinking, it's the booby prize. I'm thinking about it instead of being present to something, just the experience itself. So that's more.
Yeah, we can't be too extreme. What's your name again?
Kathy.
Kathy.
Yeah.
Human beings, we have a thinking mind. Has anybody noticed that? Okay. Is there anybody here who does not have a thinking mind? Is that clear?
Yes.
Right. And so we all have this sixth consciousness. This has this capacity of cognizing situations. Right? Now, for those of us who were born in the U.S., our thoughts appear to us in what language? English. Anybody grow up in a different culture? Did your thoughts always appear in English?
No, sometimes in Spanish.
Spanish, okay, you see, right? And probably if you hadn't been speaking that much, you know what I mean? But yeah, so anybody else speak a different, yeah? Portuguese, right? Swedish. So we all have thoughts, and they appear in different languages. Is that true? But we all have a word for this, right? And in Spanish, we might say one thing. In English, we may say one thing. In Portuguese, we may say another thing. In Swedish, we may say another thing. And if we get lost in language, we may get confused until we realize, oh, we're all talking about this. Oh, well, that's easy, you see. So language is not the problem, but believing that language is the real thing, that's where we get screwed up. right? So words are pointers, right? So if, for those of you who speak English, if I say flower, which of these two is the flower? Everybody point to the flower. All right. Now watch. Who? Spanish. Can you please point to the flora? Points to the same thing. What do you call it? Flora. Crazy. All right. Portuguese? What? And which one of these is the floor? Yeah, all right. You see? So, direct experience, to understand that things are not words. Words are just labels, right? But they're not only labels for things. We label experience, we label people, we do elaborate labels, right? I mean, we do labels about all kinds of people, right? Like right wing and left wing, right? I mean, very complex kind of things, right? That are just words and labels. And when you're lost in the reality of labels, you do not see the complexity of things, nor do you see the humanity of things, nor do you see the aliveness of things. And yet we use words. I mean, that's the way we communicate, right? Dogs communicate. How do dogs communicate? What? They bark. Isn't that how they communicate? They bark. And do they all bark the same way? No. And if you're around a dog, do you see they have different kind of barks and sounds? And yeah, I mean, they have their own language. So they have their own way of communicating, but it's not words. So we use words, and we misuse words. So, you know, in the Buddha's eight-spoke wheel, he talked about right thinking, which means thinking that sees clearly. So there's nothing wrong with thinking, except our thinking's distorted. And one of our biggest distortions, we think things are real. We don't realize we're just having thoughts. And again, if you're going to evaluate your practice, Kathy, evaluate it based on where you were and how far you've come. Because that's accurate. You know, if you're in 8th grade and all you think, oh my God, I'm such an idiot, I'm not taking college courses, I mean, you know. What do you think about that? Good way to evaluate yourself?
I see your point.
Yeah. No, you go, yeah, you know, I've learned a lot in these last 8 grades, right? I've come a long way. Yeah, and there's more to go, but it's, don't always be, if you're always looking that way, you know, how far away you are. But again, you have no idea what the future is. You have no idea what it looks like when you get there. Do you?
I do not.
No, but you know where you were. That's true, because you were there. So it's very important that we live in reality and not our thoughts about reality.
Thank you for helping me.
Okay, good. Anybody else?
You get one online, Fred.
Yes.
Is seeking safety in this life a delusory aim?
Wow. I'll never get to the Dharma talk today, but that's a good subject. All right. So let's open that up. That's wonderful. Do you have a shorter one? What? Yours is a good one too? Okay, good. All right, well, hold on. We'll see. We have time. All right. Yeah. So the question again is? Is seeking safety in this life a delusory aim? Well, let me ask everybody here. and online, would you rather be safe or unsafe? Safe. Okay. So feeling safe is just kind of one of those very visceral, you know. I mean, watch birds. You know, they're so, what's their problem? Why are they always twittering around and moving around and they're looking this way and that and they come down, and they can never relax until they're way up there, right? They find a little roosting place, but when they're down on the ground and they're looking for worms or looking for seeds, they're always, why is that? Yeah, they don't feel safe. Yeah, but when they get up there, on their little branch and they think they're real hidden, you watch them. They relax. They're kind of doing their funny thing. Right. So I think that's a very natural, to want to be safe, to be free from harm. Would you agree? Yeah. So I think all human beings seek safety. I mean, there are many kind of things that human beings seek. The question is, and this is, where the Dharma comes in, is where can I find safety in this life? Okay? Do people see? That's the question. I have this, all beings want to be safe. I want to be safe. I want my loved ones to be safe. Actually, in our loving kindness practice, we make the wish, may all beings be safe. We want everybody to be safe. It's across the board. It's non-denominational. We want everybody to be safe because we know that's just a very human need. Now the question is, where do you find safety in this world? Which is a very interesting question. So just think yourselves, and everybody here has been on your journey in life, right? From childhood to now. And just think to yourself, where have I looked for safety? Where have I looked for safety in this life? Where have I looked to find something stable, something I can, trust, right? Is that, those characteristics of a safe place? Something kind of, I can trust this, stable, permanent, ground, I feel safe. And just kind of go through your life and think, has there always been one thing, or have you sought safety in many different things over life? Have you ever sought safety in things that in time you learned weren't that safe? Just reflect a minute. It's interesting. So we have this need to be safe. All human beings have a need to be safe. Animals have a need to be safe, right? Animals think, it's interesting, animals often seek safety where? Like in holes, right? Underground. You know what I mean? They think safety. Where do we seek safety? So can you just share, call it out, and people at home, just, where have you, in your life, where have you looked for safety? A job. We'll just slow down. A job, right? Well, we slow down. A job, right? Career, job. I'll get a career, I'll get a job. I'm set. Relationships. What kind of relationships? Family relationships. I'm born into a family. This will be safe. I heard some snickers back there. Right? But you see, right, yeah. Family, right? Romance, right? Yeah. Anybody ever think they found the one? I won't ask you to raise your hands. Yeah, now I'm safe. You know what I mean? I don't have to keep looking. I don't have to have bad relations anymore. I'm safe now. Where else do we look for safety? Home. Yeah, home, physical. Home safety. Substances. Yeah, so because we don't feel safe, because we don't feel at ease within our body, within our thing, many people find safety in keeping themselves what? Inebriated, intoxicated, high, whatever, because it's a place that they can trust, that they can feel what? Safe in. They can relax. Where else do we seek safety? Sangha. Sangha is a safe place. Solitude, be alone. I get it. Be alone. Yeah. Solitude, safe. Nature. Yeah. Nature. A democratic country we feel safe in. Yeah, we thought so. Yeah, we look all kinds of places. Yeah, we look for safety in political leaders, political ideologies. If this one gets in, then I'll be safe. Right? How else do we... I mean, who has the biggest military establishment in the world? What? We do. Why do we have the biggest military establishment in the world? Yeah, I mean, if you keep going, it's about, keep people safe. I mean, it's multiple levels, this desire for safety. Anybody else, anywhere else we feel safe? We look for safety? What? Yeah, for figuring things out. I know how to keep myself safe. I'll just figure everything out. How else do we keep ourselves safe on that line?
In a spiritual life with the Dharma.
Well, that's a nice one. I'm sort of not there yet. I'm going through all the other places. Many of us feel safe by worrying. If I just worry this thing to death, I'll keep myself safe. I'll just worry about all the terrible things that could happen, right? Anybody even know that one? Right? But if you think about, why do you worry? Why do I have all this anxiety? Why am I afraid this is going to happen? Because why? Because we want to be safe. And so if I figure it out, think about it, have all my... Is there anybody here who's ever been like a control freak? I won't ask you to raise your hands again. Why do you want to keep things under control? Think about it. I mean, go underneath. Why do you want everything under control? All your ducks lined up, everything go... Because why? Because in certainty, we'll have certainty. And then, I can relax. Certainty. I know how things are going to turn out. Don't we want to know how things will turn out? I mean, people stay all night before the election. I mean, during the election, they stay up all night to find out what? How it's going to turn out. I mean, why don't they just get a good night's sleep and wake up in the morning? I mean, it's like, it's going to turn out. But you see how this kind of magical thing, if I stay up all night, somehow I could wish my person in or something. We feel safe when we take care of others. So, money. Thank you for bringing up a little, Isn't that one of the major parts of our culture is what? That drives so much people. They want to have enough money so they can be what? Safe. Abundance, having lots of things, I feel safe. Yeah. Eating all the right foods. Wait. We didn't talk about our bodies. Hold on. What do we do to keep our bodies safe from disease and aging and sickness and death? What do we do? Because we're a little worried about that stuff. What do we do? Exercise. Some people exercise obsessively. Exercise. What else do we do to keep our bodies safe? Eat right, think right, exercise right. What else? Take the right supplements, right? Feel safe. I Relax. Okay, so we could go on and find. Close your eyes. So since these are all the things that we do, right, and I think for one degree or another we can all relate to them, my question to you is, at this moment, do you feel totally safe in your life? Okay. Think about all those moments in the past when you did find the right this, the right that, had this, had that. What happened? Did you feel safe? Did things stay the same? Was safety, once you got the things you thought would give you safety, was that a continuous sense of safety for the rest of your life until now? You know, look at all those things that we've done, that we've acquired, that we thought would bring us safety. Feel safe, stable. It's a knowable world. It's a predictable world. I can count on this. Just look at all the people, the things, the relationships, the jobs, the money, the coming, the going, the political, whatever, you know. Then everything will be all right. And I can be safe. Feel safe. We'll all be safe. Has anybody found that? If you look at all the worldly things you did seeking safety, which is worth seeking, is that the way it turned out? What's the truth? When we just take a, just very realistic look at all the things we've looked to give us a sense of stability and groundedness, and money, job, relationships, bodies, physical structures. Has it given us a continuous sense of safety, all these things, when we bring them in our life? Please, investigate so you find out your truth. Is that true? Why don't all these quote-unquote worldly things deliver on giving me a sense of safety, security, predictability, consistency, sameness, safe, no danger. Safe, nothing to worry about. Safe, nothing to be vigilant about. No, I'm safe. So you can open your eyes. This can be introspected longer, but what's your quick analysis of that? Yes. Yeah.
You cannot control the safety, but you can minimize the risk.
Yeah. So, but basically, what you're saying is, no, you can't. All these things that you look for safety, no, they don't create safety, and yet, if you have decent coping skills and intelligence, you can minimize the damage. Yeah. But in terms of delivering that fundamental sense of safety and security, these worldly things haven't delivered for you. Anybody else? Who else? We all, yes, Tony.
It's like safety is permanence, but nothing is permanent.
Was that a problem for you? Tony says he wants things to be permanent, but they're not permanent. They're impermanent. And he's learned to accept that. Who else? Yes, ma'am. Well, why don't you then wait for the, wait for the microphone. Again, we have people online. If they can hear.
Hi, I'm Luisella. So I have a question and a statement.
Yes, ma'am.
First, the statement is, I feel like I have found that acceptance and peace when I'm in solitude. But then my question is, that also doesn't last.
Yes.
Because then you always want the partnership or the other
Oh,
thing.
yeah, there you go.
So how?
Well,
how-
we'll get there, but that's important.
Yeah.
Because to see, and many people, they use meditation that way. But they use meditation sort of the same way you do. It's sort of a specific state, right? Or people say, yeah, when I'm in nature, I feel safe. When I'm alone in solitude, I feel safe. When I'm on my cushion, you know what I mean? Or come to Sangha, I feel safe. Right, but then as you just pointed out, what happens when I leave that space? Do I still feel safe? Grounded, stable, fearless even. And you would say, how do you get that? Yeah, we'll talk about that. Who else looked at all the things they, yes ma'am. Over here?
Well, I guess my experience with it has...
Your what?
My experience with
Yeah, yeah.
feeling safe, right? We all want to accumulate a bunch of things to feel safe, but then you feel anxious about losing those things.
Yeah, what do you know?
And so then
Yeah.
it just becomes a cycle.
It does, my dear. Yeah, you got
And
it.
then life takes it all away and you realize you're still
And you what?
safe. I said, and then life takes it all away.
And then life takes it all away.
And you're still okay.
Well, you're still okay, even though you thought,
You thought
You-
the world would end.
what?
I said, you thought the world would end,
You thought your world were there.
right?
Yeah, so, we human beings are fundamentally, no matter how deluded we are fundamentally resilient, and how many times we get knocked down, we what? We get back up. Yeah. So in Buddhist jargon, what we seek is something permanent, right? And through all these things, the relationships, the things, the accumulation, the job, the status, whatever it is we're seeking, we're hoping when we get it, it's going to what? Be permanent. The trouble is, nothing's permanent. This is, anicca is one of the most fundamental teachings of the Buddha. Everything is changing. Nothing is stable. And everything means everything. Our bodies are changing. We started out like this. We got like this, then we go like that, and then we go this. And then we go the other way, don't we? Yeah, and eventually we'll be dead. Right? So we can't, even though we do all the things to take care of the body and dress the body and do everything to keep it alive and healthy, we can't, can we? The ravages of sickness, old age, and death find all of us. Our bodies we can't control. Myriad systems in here, way beyond our ability to control, has a life of its own. It's frightening. Driving on 75, driving on 275. What do you think? Yeah. Right? Can't control it. All these people. the world, I mean, it's like the whole thing's out of control, isn't it? Things come and go. True. Relationships begin, relationships end. People fall in love, people fall out of love. True. Things look great, they turn out not so great. Just got the dream job, right? What happens 3 years later, you've noticed what? You've got a nightmare of a boss, you know? But we could go on and on, you see what I'm saying? But there's no safety in this, because worldly life cannot deliver safety, because its nature is endless change. Its nature is impermanence. The winds blow. Right? Anybody who moves to Florida cannot be looking for stability of climate, can they? No. And more of the world is sort of looking like Florida, isn't it? So, yeah. So this is a fundamental kind of concern going back to the time of the Buddha, and so that's why he stated as one of his first laws was the truth of impermanence, the truth of anicca. That everything. How many thoughts have you had today? Anybody want to guess? You know, how many feeling states, how many different sensations have you felt in your body today? And then times that by all the days you've been alive. What does that tell you about this mind of ours? Changing, not stable. Can't count on it. Can we? No. Right? A friend of ours does something nice, and we go, oh, what a good friend. A friend of ours does something we don't like that well. I think I was wrong about that person. Right? And then they do something nice, and we think, oh. I mean, just think about it, right? I mean, how quickly we change. Change, based on, we don't need to go into it, yeah. So, it is because of the nature that everything is changing, nothing is stable, that we, coming back to where we started today, we want to develop a safe place within ourselves. A stability within ourselves that is not dependent on external situations. It doesn't mean we're not going to be affected, you know what I'm saying? But it means in Buddhism we call that taking refuge. Like a refuge. Like what's a refuge? What? Yeah. What? Shelter. Safe place. Right? Like in a storm we take refuge. Right? In a storm, they bring the boats into port, right? Anchor them down. They have a, stability and safety, so they can ride out the storm. But for many of us, we don't have that within ourselves. So as these storms of life pass through, we're blown this way or that. Or else we get into these other things, control, manipulation, rather than accepting, I don't know anything. I don't have a clue how anything's going to turn out. Is that true? That's absolutely true. You get up every day and you look at your day planner and you go, oh, this is how my day is going to be. Is that how life unfolds? Just like your day planner? No, because every one of those situations is something that, you know what I mean? It's just, right? So we don't know anything. Now, actually in Zen we have a phrase, don't know mind. It could scare the hell out of the people who are into control and manipulation and always having expectation and worrying and planning. Yeah, try out don't know mind. Don't know mind means what? I don't know anything. I don't know how anything's going to turn out. I don't know how this job's going to turn out. I don't know how this relationship's going to turn out. I don't know how this administration's going to turn out. I don't know how the world's going to turn out. I don't know anything. Except what? What? Don't know, but I know, there has to be something I know. I know that I have a place here that will support me and nourish me and give me, no matter what's, right? It's a safe place. So it's very important that we develop this capacity. Again, many people just, because of all kind of stuff, don't feel comfortable in their own bodies and minds, don't feel safe within their own bodies and minds. Right? And so if you don't feel safe within your own body and mind, you got to buy a lot of guns, right? They find these people. They go, they got. Right? How many guns do some people have? Hundreds. I mean, why are they doing this? To feel safe. If I have more guns, I'll feel safe. People want to be safe. But they go about it in a way that doesn't make them feel safe because they're still scared. Right? They're still scared. In the Buddha path, we uproot our fear. Right? We uproot our fear. You can still have a gun if you want. You know what I mean? But it's not coming from that place. Because there's no safety in any absolute way. And that's just the way it is, isn't it? And how do you kind of build a home within your own body-mind that you can live in this world of uncertainty and impermanence and be okay with whatever happens? Does that sound good? Yeah. I mean, I think I talked about it a couple of weeks ago. We stayed here for the, Milton, right? Remember? First it was Helene, and then there was Helene's good friend Milton came. In the winds, right? And just, and around here, lots of trees and limbs and things snapped. The bamboo. Incredible. And then a big 100-mile-an-hour gust, and the bamboo would just go almost to the ground. And as soon as that gust passed, come back up. Right? Had that inner resiliency. Just could bend. It could deal with things, didn't break. We want to have that kind of inner resiliency, that we don't break, that life doesn't break us. So meditation is really, it's not just about calming ourselves. Right? Many people, mindfulness meditation, great technique for what? Calming ourselves. Is that true? But just reflect for a moment. If you weren't stirred up, why would you need to calm yourself down? And when you understand the deeper truths like impermanence and can really understand it and accept it, impermanence won't, change won't freak you out. Oh, that's interesting. Everything is interesting. Because everything is happening because of causes and conditions. Just life. The wanted, the unwanted, the good, the bad, Just life. And so spiritual practice is not like, Buddhism is not a theology. It's not a dogma. The Buddha based his whole teachings on observing life within and without. It's very real, practical. right? You know, we need a spiritual life that helps us navigate life. You know what I'm saying? I didn't forget about you.
I was going to ask Fred about non-self. I don't know if I want to change the topic on you, though. You kind of...
Well, you know, I opened it up today, so I mean, I got to take what comes.
Fair enough. Well, after the last question, I'm probably just seeking intellectual certainty for intellectual safety in this, but you mentioned how what's the body, it's sort of a myriad of causes and conditions you don't really have control over. So meditating on that, experiencing that, like you said, is frightening. And
Well, hold on. You meditating, really seeing that this whole body has a life of its own, and sickness, old age, and death, and it's got millions of parts, and it's totally out of my control.
frightening.
That's frightening. I like that. So continue. All right, we'll keep that one here. All right.
So frightening to see that, and then I think I go from there intellectually to, if it's all causes and conditions, sensations in a body, what would be the point of pursuing anything, trying to achieve certain goals? So how can I embrace non-self without becoming too nihilistic?
Yeah. You know, you may find this. Your name, you're Brett. The Buddha dealt with this. Can you believe that? He talked about nihilism and how we can't go into nihilism, nor can we go into internalism or materialism. Yeah. So let's just where you started. So your body, totally out of control, right? It's growing on its own, right? I mean, you didn't come into this life, you know, as a newborn infant and kind of visualize how you wanted it to be and how you wanted your body to be. It just kind of happened, didn't it? Yeah. And all the things that are going on inside your body are just happening. Does your body have a problem with that?
No.
No, body doesn't have a problem with sickness, old age, and death, and change, and right. You know, when the body's in pain, what does it do? It says, "Ouch," right? Or it starts right. You know what I mean? Body's okay, isn't it? Think about it. Body's okay with disease. True. Doesn't complain, does it? But there is somebody who complains, Brett. Who's that?
I'm not sure who that is.
Well, that's a good start. But that's the I, me, my. That's the Brett. There's somebody who stands outside of life and goes, "Oh my God, I don't have control of this." Right? There's somebody who stands outside of life and goes, "Oh my God, I can't control her. I can't control him. I can't control this relationship. I can't make it to be the way I want it to be." Right? I can't make this job be I can't, I can't control every driver on 275. Yeah. I hate to tell you, but that's true. You see what I'm saying? And right? So, that's another one of those fundamental things the Buddha looked at. Then what is that thing which we call I, me, my, or we give it a name, that stands outside of life and goes, "Ooh, this is scary, this change." Again, the body has no problem with it, and it's the body that's going through the changes. But there's this thing called the self or whatever, and it goes, scary. All my efforts to keep things the way I want it, there's no guarantee, right? Is that true, Brett?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he freaks out, doesn't he? No. So a lot of people just don't think about it. They drink, they drug, they go shopping, they watch Netflix, they just kind of keep they keep it going, right? Social media, they're just busy, 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 we keep busy, busy, right? Yeah, that's because who wants to look at that? It's kind of a downer, isn't it? Yeah. So we have a world that's in complete denial of reality. Right? And we just continually, endlessly pursue things. Happy, pleasure, all these kind of things. Yeah. But all of a sudden, Brett comes along and goes, who's running this show? I'd like to think it's me. Yeah. So this is really one of the prime, in the Buddhist tradition, one of the prime things we meditate on. What is this self? Now the Buddha said, right, in his 3 marks of existence, he said 3 things. Mark all existence. Anicca, impermanence. Dukkha, which is fundamentally all worldly activities will never give us happiness. They're fundamentally unsatisfactory because they change and they don't last. Right? Anybody ever here have a pleasurable experience in their life? How many people here have had lots of pleasurable experiences in their life? Right? What's the downside? They don't last. You see? I mean, that's the truth. They don't last. If we don't understand that that's the nature of pleasurable experiences, that they're just transient, we're endlessly what? Disappointed, and then we're pursuing, more pleasure. Got to accumulate more. Keep it going. Got to keep it going. Right? You know, it's like people who go out drinking. You know, I was young once. You know what I mean? What do they keep doing? And what does the waitress know? What? Keep them coming, because they know that the alcohol buzz only lasts about 20 minutes. I mean, science can show that, but they know that. So if you ever go out again, you'll notice that they come around about every 20 minutes. Can I fill up your drink? Yeah. You know, one another. They're very smart. Because they know for many people, what? They want to keep it going. Some people, no, one's enough, you know. Yeah, so this identification as a separate self, right? That there's a Brett. He was born here. This is his story, this is his life, this is who he is. This is his body. I mean, don't tell your body that. It doesn't know that, but you claim it for yourself, don't you? This is Brett's body, right? He gets married, he claims his wife, this is my wife, right? She might go around and say, this is my husband. You see, the self goes around claiming everything for itself. Is that true? Yeah. Now again, in the world of language, yeah, I mean, it's okay to say, this is my husband, this is my wife. You know, but what is your name? Yeah.
Leticia.
Leticia. I mean, if he said, this is my wife, does that mean he kind of controls and runs you? Tells you what to do, tells you what to think?
No.
No. You see, even though he says, she's my wife.
But he will.
But will he try? Of course, yeah, he'll try. Yeah, and maybe you do too. Right? Yeah, because we forget that language is just, just language, just words. So, the Buddha said, there is a subjective sense of me, right? We have a body-mind, right? And we have these, and there is a sense, right? So if I said, Salima, where are you? Salima would go, what? Here I am, you see? Brett would not go, here I am. Because Salima has a sense that this body-mind over there is her. Right? We all have that. I mean, we all have a sense of me, a subjective sense of me. Right? Now, what the Buddha said, he didn't say that that's not true. He said we have reified that subjective sense of me into a thing. And once you have a thing, then you have to what? Defend it, protect it, advance it. Once you have a strong identity, then it has what? Wants and needs. Right? More. And the Buddha said it is this sense of a separate self which is our most fundamental delusion and cause of our suffering. Because the Buddha said there is a subjective sense of kind of meanness, meanness, if you investigate it, you will not find that. So this is very much what we do in meditation. We look for the self. We look in our body, my body. Right, Brett? Is that your body? Okay. And if I said, that Brett that owns that body, where does it dwell?
In the body,
Okay.
mind.
All right. So I would say, okay, Brett, next time you sit down to meditate, do a complete, thorough, or kind of autopsy analysis of every part of your body and see if you can find that singular thing called I that controls it. And then do the same thing to your mind. Go through all your thoughts, your feelings, your perceptions. What is that thing called I? Anybody ever hear the voice inside yourself telling you what to do? Get angry about this, want that, need that, right? 2 minutes ago you were nice and relaxed, and you get the message, you need that. Go to the fridge. You're on the verge of starvation. You know that voice? It tells us all kinds of things. Next time you hear that voice, just turn in your mind and look and see, is there anything there? You know what you're going to find? Take a guess. Nothing's there. Now, I used to be a mental health professional. People who hear voices that aren't really there not healthy, right? People who hear voices aren't there. We say what? Hallucinating, crazy. And we're crazy. Because we hear this voice all day telling us what to do, like this, don't like that. They like me, they don't like me. They think I'm this, they think I'm that. I need this, I need that. They never stop and look. What's the source of that voice? So that's what we do. It needs to be investigated. Because it appears, so one key phrase of Buddhism is, things are not as they appear. So this appears to be what? Anybody disagree with that? This appears to be a flower. But is there a real self-existent flower here that's always been here, will always be here? No. If I took all the petals off, threw them on the floor, took all the leaves off, throw them on the floor, right? Or let's say I had them scattered on the table. Would you say, oh, that's a nice flower? Would you? No. Well, what's the difference? All the parts of the flower are there. What's missing? You see, things are made of parts. We're made of parts. Bread. Our bodies are made of millions of parts. Our minds is endless thoughts, memories, right? Thousands of parts. And yet we think there's got to be something solid there, permanent, real. But, who we are is no different than the flower. Right? This is a what, Tony? A floor. And yet, there's no permanent solid floor here, is there? Come back in a few days, be gone. But it's here now. It's coming together here now very nicely. But if we think this is going to last forever, right? If I think every time I'm going to come in here, there's going to be this beautiful flower there, what's going to happen when I come in and it's wilted? I'm going to be what? Sad. Sad, disappointed. But if I understand, that's just the nature of it. It's okay. Right? Anyhow, was that a little helpful?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's a whole area. These areas we got into in impermanence and non-self, these are fundamental teachings. And in Buddhism, they need to really be reflected on, meditated on, so that what? So that we can go through life and feel safe. Living in basically a world that we can't control. And that we don't know what's going to happen, do we? But this practice, this understanding gives us the resiliency to know whatever happens, what? I'll be okay. Whatever happens, I'll be okay. Because there's a part of us that has nothing to do with all this. I think we've come to the end. Thank you very much. Thank you for your questions.